What's up, gang? Congrats on completing Module 2. I hope you guys have a better understanding of your macronutrients, what those protein, carbohydrates, and fats do, why you need them, and where you can find them in different foods. Moving on to Module number 3, we are going to be calculating those macros and finding out how many you need to reach your goals, whether that's body recomposition, weight loss, or muscle gain, okay? And so to start, we're going to first need to know what our BMR is. And we kind of talked before, BMR is your basal metabolic rating, and that's just how many calories your body needs at rest, not accounting for any extra activity at all. So just you being a sloth. You guys can go now onto the Googles and type in BMR calculator, just put in your weight, your height. Don't worry about your body fat percentage. We don't need to know that. Guys, one thing, all these numbers are just an estimation, so please don't get caught up in the actual numbers, getting to the exact gram, There's error in everything. There's even error in the food labels we're reading, so when you turn that food label over, companies are able to have a certain variance of error, and that's totally okay, that's totally normal, and we know that. You might not know that, but that is something that plays a part, right, and is not knowing. And so what I'm hoping that you guys are going to learn through this whole course is more knowing about nutrition, knowing these little things, okay? And so when we talk about calculating our macros, we just need to keep that in mind at all times, that there is error everywhere. So whether you're weighing your food in grams or with measuring cups, you're gonna have some error, and that's totally okay. The key to error is making sure that error stays consistent, all right? So if we're doing the same thing across the board all the time, that is exactly what we want, because again, guys, we're just trying to collect information here, all right? These numbers are not make it or break it. At the end of the day, your body knows exactly what you need, how much you need, and we're trying to just give it a little bit less, right? Just a tiny little bit less. And so it's a very fine game that you just have to trial and error over, really. So if you start off and you calculate your macros out and your numbers and you notice you're gaining weight and you want to lose weight, well, even if the calculator, even if I tell you that that's what you were supposed to eat to lose weight and you're not losing weight, that's not what you were supposed to eat to lose weight. Bottom line, your body is smarter than you, so let's listen to it, okay? And that's why it's so important to have those metrics to track, like our weight, like our measurement, like those pictures, so that we have more information. Getting back to calculating how many macros we need. After we found our BMR, which for most people, like if you're a 200-pound male, your BMR is probably gonna be somewhere in the 1,400 calorie region. So just eating nothing but 1,400 calories, you would lose weight, right? You would turn to skin and bones. If you were just sitting on the couch all day and you just ate 14, that's exactly what your body needs, the bare minimum, okay? So you wouldn't have any room to do anything other than just function and live. And so with that BMR, we can add activity level. We know we're more active than, doing absolutely nothing. And maybe we're not super active, so you kind of gauge that, right? And give yourself some more calories on top of that. A good way to do that, and what I recommend, is we're gonna estimate calories just kind of by multiplying either the number 11, 12, or 13 by our goal weight. So whatever your goal weight is, you're just going to multiply that by 11, 12, or 13. And once you do that, that'll give you your calorie number, okay? So let's say that your goal weight is 200 pounds, multiply that by, let's say, 11, right? That gives us 2,200 calories to work with, okay? Like I said, calories are king. So if you are eating 2,200 calories, you should theoretically be losing weight. If you notice you're gaining weight, then we're going to need to lower that number. But what we're gonna do with that 2,200 calorie number is now calculate our macros. So we have our 2,200 calories up here. The first macronutrient we're gonna calculate, because it's the most important, like we talked about in Module 2, is protein. And how do we calculate how much protein we need? Well, again, we kind of talked about it in Module 2 a bit. We want about 1 gram of protein per pound of goal weight or per pound of lean body mass. And that just means how much muscle mass you have, okay? Again, if you were 220 pounds and you wanted to get to 200 pounds, we would want to have about at least 200 grams of protein a day. Now, we have our 2,200 calories and our 200 grams of protein. We need to turn that 200 grams of protein into calories. And how do we do that? Well, we know from Module 2 that 1 gram of protein has 4 calories. And so, if we take that 2,200 calories and we take our 200 grams of protein and we multiply that by 4, we get 800 calories, right? So we have 800 calories from protein. Now we can take that 2,200 number and subtract our 800 calories. When we do that, we get 1,600 calories left, okay? So now we know that we need 200 grams of protein per day, and we have 1,600 calories left to allot for our carbohydrates and our fats, all right? So what's the next macronutrient we want to calculate, guys? We want to calculate fats next because they are essential. Like we talked about in Module 2, we want about 20 to 30% of our total calories to come from fats. So what that means is we're eating 2,200 calories and we're having about, say, 20-ish% of our total calories from fat. We're gonna want about 400 or so of our calories to come from fats. And so if we take our 400 calories that we need from fat and we multiply that by 9, or we divide that, by 9, we're going to get about 55 grams of fat, okay? Now we know that we have that 1,600 number up there, our remaining calories after we took out our protein. We know we have 400 calories from fat, so we subtract that 400 calories from our 1,600 remaining calories, and you get 1,200 calories left, right? And what's the third macronutrient we have left? Carbohydrates. So, how do we calculate our carbohydrates? Well, it's really, really easy, guys. All you do is just fill in the rest of your calories. And this is kind of where preference comes in. If you enjoy more fats or you enjoy more carbs, you can move those up and down. Remember, more fat isn't better, so we don't need to go over that 30% of your total calories, but that gives you a good amount of wiggle room to exchange some fats for carbs, depending on your preference. And again, guys, when we talk about preference, adherence, and we talk about sustainability, okay? So if we're able to eat to our preference and adhere to our macros, we are able to sustain weight loss, to sustain fat loss, and body recomposition. So now, guys, we have our protein, our fat, and our carb numbers, okay? So each day, I want you to think of this like a budget, okay? Your macros are just your daily nutrient budget, all right? And so each day, based on our calculations, you are allowed to eat 2,200 calories. You're supposed to have 200 grams of carbs, about 55 grams of fat, and for that last equation, dividing 4 calories per gram that carbs contain into that remaining 1,200 calories gives us about 300 grams of carbs. So now, having those numbers, 200 grams of protein, 300 grams of carbs, 55 grams of fat, you can go and start tracking those. And how do we track those, guys? Well, I'm gonna talk to you guys in module number 4 about how you're going to track your macros, okay? And it's, again, we're talking about preference here, because if it's something that you prefer, if it's something that's easy for you, you're more likely to adhere to it, and therefore it's more likely to be sustainable, okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed calculating your macros. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. I'm more than happy to sit down with you and go over the equations. But I hope you are able to enjoy module number 4, tracking your macros.